youngest brother, twin of Bob. So it came Matt, Terry, Bob, and then 2 minutes later, I popped out. And they didn't know I was here or in here with Mom for 7 months. Because Bob was so big, he came out 8 pounds at Kapiolani Hospital. I came out 4 pounds. Hogging all of the umbilical cord. And so the story goes, so I'm told, is that they found out St. Patrick's Day that I was there. And when is St. Patrick's Day? March. When were we born? May. So I'm Patrick. St. Patrick's. Matt was always there for us. He was always the bigger brother, and I was always the runt, and I literally the unexpected child. Literally, I just popped out. But so 4 boys, good Chinese family. Good Chinese family. So I'm gonna skip over because all of you have stories of Matt when he was performing and everything. I'm gonna skip over to the last day of his life. So the week before, Matt said, I don't want to die alone. So we took shifts, all the brothers, Paul and his friend Sean. Paul and Sean, since they were closest, they would stay there at night. And we would take 4-hour shifts during the day so that Matt would never be alone. And that week, literally the week before, he was saying, oh, we're gonna go have Christmas, and then there's gonna be New Year's, and then we're gonna go to Vegas again, or we're gonna go to Europe, right? He never finished living. It was always living. But that week, he took turn for the worse, decided to get unplugged from everything, and so we knew it was coming. And so we took shifts, and so that was Sunday, by Wednesday, he couldn't talk anymore. But he was always, now, thank you. Glad you're here. So me and my son and my daughter were there on Saturday, 10 a.m. shift till 2. And we love playing games, so we bought card games and things like that. If you can picture it, the room, big window, Matt was leaning down, so we took up spots at the window, played card games, and we knew he was listening. The monitor had his heartbeat, very steady, and I was telling the kids, back when, back in the 70s, when we were growing up with Matt, we didn't have any cable. There were 3 stations on the TV, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and at 10 o'clock at night, it would shut off, right? That shh, right? Signing off. And there was no Xbox, there was no PlayStation, no internet. So what did we do? We went out fishing, and we would buy with all the cousins, with all the relatives, big family fishing trips on the weekends out in Kaneohe. You buy a bucket of KFC chicken, and then with the bones. Get the bamboo pole with the hook, put it down in the water off the pier, and catch crabs. Plenty of crabs to catch. Yep. Back then, so many fish. You just take a little boat, go out and cast and catch fish. So, I was telling the kids that's always part of our lives, and we knew Matt was listening, even though he was just there. And then 2 o'clock came. My brother Bob came to relieve us. We brought him up to speed. Matt hasn't changed. The monitor's been beeping well and pretty steady. And then about 15 minutes later, after catching Bob up, his vitals started going down. And so, and there would even be question marks because it wasn't picking up the vitals. And I went to the nurse station. It looks like something's happening. And they said, yes, something's happening. Right? And I said, oh, okay. We only have so much time. So Bob called the rest of the family to come over. And we lined up, me and Nate on one side, Bob and Alexis on the other. Held his hands, close arms. Said, we're here. Want to be with you. You're doing. And I think he waited for Bob to come and said, it's about time. And so we were there for him. We kept telling him, we're here. And then it flatlined. And the nurses came in and plugged it. And then everybody else came after that. But I think we're lucky to be there. And I gotta tell you, it was the most serene and most peaceful passing that I've ever experienced. And even my son said later in the car, how do you feel? And I said, it's like a big sigh of relief. Because he'd been in this battle for 14 months, right, with cancer. And he'd been living, but that didn't stop him. He kept living throughout those 14 months, going on trips, seeing Katy Perry, right? Going to Australia, going East Coast, West Coast, and he never stopped living. And he never let cancer stop him from doing what he wanted to do. And bless all of his friends too for coming out and sharing that with him. So, but I think he said, it's time, and so he passed very peacefully. And so I wanted to share that with all of you since you weren't there. But, we were, and it was very good. And I'm glad for Matt and for all of you, all of his friends. He was life. He was living, and that's what he wanted, and that's what he lived for. And Paul, I think Paul shared the most burden because he was taking Matt all over the place. He had no breaks. We had breaks because they would go away. He was always there. So Paul, thank you for that. And I'm sure Matt appreciated every single second. So that's all I need to say. That's all I want to say. Thank you.